Well, Hazu of Dragon Season 2 Episode 4 is breathtaking, and it's one of the best episodes in House of Dragons till now, and the Dance of Dragons has begun now is officially on, so I thought it would be fun to take a look at next week's trailer to see what happens in Episode 5 of House of Dragon, and it's important before watching this video contain major book spoilers, and let's get into it. I absolutely love this shot because check out these two different looks from Allison, and On looks proud while Allison is like, oh, what have we got ourselves into now, and the books on takes over. As Protector of the Realm, a title designated to the head of state, something that should not be confused with the actual king. In Season 1 of Game of Thrones, Edward Stark was named Protector of the Realm after King Robert Baratheon was mortally wounded by a boar. This title would remain until Robert's heir would come of age in this case. However, King Aegon is incapacitated after the Battle of Rook's Rest, suffering broken ribs, a broken hip, and burns that covered half his body. It is said even parts of his armor burned into his flesh. The book tells us that over 800 knights and squires died at the Battle of Rook's Rest, with hundreds more after On and Kristen had every member of House Stanton executed. Lord Stanton's head would be mounted above the old gate in King's Landing for all to see, but the showstopper is the head of Rhaenys dragon Meleys carted around the streets of King's Landing for all the small folk to see, just like Episode 2 had a speaker spewing propaganda about the death of Jaehaerys Targaryen. We have a speaker here saying that Meleys was slain by King Aegon and not Prince Aegon. This makes sense. They would want the people to rally behind their king, and it offers a welcome distraction from a king who is on the brink of death. I think it's fair to assume that now Protector of the Realm On will relish his new title. He's always wanted to be king and considers himself a more trained and well-suited candidate for the role than his brother Aegon. Is brought back to King's Landing in what the book calls a closed litter to hide the extent of his injuries. It is said that the king would not rise from his bed for the rest of the year, so I'm curious how the show will maneuver around this. We are in the king's chambers where we can see a host of maesters working on the injured king. Once stabilized, only Allison and Kristen Cole were allowed to disturb his rest, and his wife Helena never made any attempt to visit. In the book, this is a result of Helena descending into madness after the death of her son Jaehaerys, and I get the feeling the show is drifting away from that. You may also be asking yourself what happened to Aegon's dragon Sunfire. Like the king, he survived, but terribly injured. An injured wing rendered him unable to fly, so Kristen had men stationed near the animal to feed it calves and sheep until he healed. Meanwhile, on Dragonstone, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen at the Black Council stresses the importance of controlling the Riverlands. They can't take King's Landing without it. We'll see this shot of someone knocking over Rook's Rest, and no doubt they'll be dealing with the aftermath of their loss, including Rhaenys and her dragon. Interesting that this trailer has not one shot of Corlys. In the book, Corlys blames Rhaenyra Targaryen for his wife's death, stating it should have been you, and this causes a falling out between the two, only to be mended later when he is named Hand of the Queen. We see Rhaenyra pull Alfred Broom aside. Out of all the members of the Black Council, this is the guy who has been most vocal about how Rhaenyra has been running things. Perhaps Rhaenyra has taken him aside to further explain her actions, but it's also setting up Alfred's eventual defection to Team Green. Daemon here at top of Caraxes in front of a group of Bracken men. His terms are simple: bend the knee to him or their house burns. This is rather interesting considering the deal he made with Willem Blackwood, the regent of House Blackwood. Last episode, he would get their army should Daemon administer the Queen's justice on House Bracken. So is Daemon here wanting to have his cake and eat it too by uniting these two houses? Has he chosen House Bracken over Blackwood? Or is this all a charade and he's going to burn these guys regardless? I think this shot of his dragon behind a member of House Bracken gives us a clue what will happen to him. This is all part of Daemon's plan to amass a standing army for Rhaenyra. The Riverlands has the largest contingent of fighters, and in order to garrison them, Daemon will have to rebuild Harrenhal. We'll see Daemon experiencing more dreams. The closed captioning has a quote: mysterious woman saying, Daemon, you were meant to wear a crown. The speaker sure doesn't have the Scottish accent that belongs to Alice Rivers. However, that's not to say it isn't her controlling him through dreams. We'll see Daemon pointing this axe at someone, and my best guess as to who it is Alice, and then Simon Strong will see him use this same a later chopping would notice. However, his bandaged right hand, something he doesn't have in the later shot. Now this could just be a coincidence, but it was his right hand that appeared all bloody after his dream in episode 4. The small council is convened, no doubt, to discuss the aftermath of Rook's Rest. Notice how Aegon does not sit in the king's chair. If you listen carefully, you'll hear Otto Hightower's voice say the king does not lack for heirs. With Aegon out of the picture, will they bring Otto back during this tumultuous time? The question of succession will undoubtedly come into play here as well. Aegon does not have a male heir to take over after the death of Yaris, but as Otto pointed out, and as we saw last Season Aegon has a bunch of bastard children in the streets of Flea. Bottom, there's some more tension between Alicent and Kristen, with Alicent claiming she has been cast aside. Kristen's preoccupied with the war, stating that it's now been turned over to the dragons. In next shot is conveniently of a dragon. This is Jacaerys Vermax overlooking the Twins' house phase castle, consisting of identical towers and bridge crossing the green fork of the Trident. It looks like Jace has been tasked with getting the phase to his side, with the Starks having already pledged men to Rhaegar's cause. They would have to go through Frey territory on their way to King's Landing. In the book, the Freys end up pledging their support to Rhaenyra. In the weeks ahead trailer, we'll see Jace cheersing the Freys, so it seems to go over well. On a stormy night, we see Prince Aemond eyeing the Iron Throne. No doubt he wonders what it would be like to be king, and things in King's Landing seem to be taking a turn for the worst, especially this shot here where the small folk clamor to get out of the city. In the book, after Malay's head is carted through the streets, thousands left King's Landing fearing war, but Alicent orders the city gates closed and barred. Rhaenyra and her Master of Whisperers consult with each other. Mysaria states that there's more than one way to win a war, and I can't help but think she means through deception and subterfuge. We have a shot here almost impossible to make out of some knights on horseback. Now this shot of Rhaenyra is quite interesting. She's in front of the painted table, but all the pieces have been taken off, and a cloaked figure is behind here. Perhaps it's Alfred Broom or her son Jace, and the trailer ends with shots of Daemon, Alicent, and Rhaenyra as the war continues on. It looks like the next episode will be a lot of cleanup from the Battle of Rook's Rest, while also setting up the next chapter of the Dance of Dragons. If you read the book, you'll know there's a lot more battles to come, both with and without dragons. The show is certainly setting up big things to come. But now I turn it over to you. What do you think will happen next? I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.